All right, so we have what is new, and it's called the modified GOAT format. What this is just GOAT format with a different ban list, and it's going to be what I think Kui said was a alternating ban list. So you get updates throughout the season. I think she said she was doing a season, but you get different updated ban lists. It's kind of like more similar to like the modern game. So this is just a different way to play Go format where you can use different cards and have things be that's OP, less OP, and things that aren't very usable become more OP with that kind of idea. So right here is the ban list the for the first tournament. I think she announced this about like last Monday or something. It was like a week before the first tournament got played, which was either Saturday or Sunday, one of those days. I wanted to take part in it because I just really like taking part in these kind of alternate GOAT format ideas. I do a lot of well, not a lot, but I often play in the casual GOAT format Discord, some of their tournaments and stuff, just because it's fun to get to build new decks and play Go format, but just like a little bit differently. So I would have liked to have done this, but 1 week wasn't really enough time to like look at the ban list and make a deck, and then also had other plans for the weekend. But we'll go over and look the ban list, the updated ban list for the tournament, and then we'll look at the winning deck, and then I don't think she has the other top performing decks listed yet, but we'll look at the least the winning deck and then kind of talk about it and give some my thoughts and ideas and what I think about it at least. So for the forbidden, the absolutely banned, nothing that was previously completely banned, I think, was unbanned. As far as I can tell, everything that's in normal Go format that's completely banned, like Witch of the Black Forest and Change of Heart and Dark Hole and Regeki, those cards are all still banned. But then some newer cards that get added in. So BLS was probably the biggest one. That's pretty obvious to me. I think that's by far the strongest monster in all of Gore format. So banning that seems fine. Delinquent Duo, one of the Trinity cards. The other Trinity cards didn't get hit, just Delinquent Duo. I think also this is fine. Delinquent Duo is one of those not fun cards. Like if your opponent plays Pot of Greed, it's kind of like, well, whatever. They get a 3+1, but getting Delinquent Duo, it's always been, in my opinion, that just feels bad to have things taken away from you, especially like turn one. Ring of Destruction, obviously a huge power card, gets played in every deck. Just way OP, so that getting banned I think is fine. And then Trap Dust Shoot, that's another one of those really annoying cards. Not every deck plays Trap Dust Shoot, but pretty much every deck can play Trap Dust Shoot, and it's just really annoying. Um, Basically makes Monarchs almost unplayable. So those are the four I think that just got added, and then nothing that was forbidden got unforbidden. And then we go down to limited. Some stuff did get moved down from like limited to semi-limited or not limited at all, and then some cards did get moved up to limited. So the first one right here is going to be Gravekeeper Spy. I think this is a great addition. Unfortunately, having Gravekeeper Spy at 1 basically makes Gravekeepers as a deck just unplayable. If you're going to have a card that searches out your other Gravekeeper monsters, you need that to be at 3 for a deck like that. And with it being set at 1, it unfortunately just makes Gravekeepers unplayable. But we've seen just how dominant this card has been in regular Go format that limiting it or banning it is kind of necessary, I think. Book of Taiyu, I'm not really all that familiar with like a lot of like the wrong control and empty jar stuff, but I do know that empty jar is just miserable to play against. Anything that just has like zero interaction is to me like a bad deck or something that I just do not want to play against. So stuff like Empty Jar and Magical Library FTK and even OTK decks like Cat OTK feels pretty bad to play against because with a deck like that, it's just your opponent's just trying to get Exodia basically, and then when they get Exodia, it's like, well, I unless I have a very specific card like something like scapegoats or something like solemn judgment to negate like a giant true nade um, or like threatening or wabaku. Like I have to have a very specific card just to not auto lose to like something like a cat OTK if they get it they're set up right. So stuff that's like got zero interaction, I think is just kind of like the worst decks to play against. But Bokatayu at 1, I don't know how necessary this is, but I do know that it does kind of kill off a lot of those from control and maybe even I don't think library FTK really uses this, but just annoying decks. An empty jar. Giant True Nade, like I was talking about earlier, just for like the FTK decks. This does kill off um, library. It doesn't act. I don't think it probably fully kills off library. It probably does actually because they do need their giant true nades to replay all their stuff. So I mean that's a good thing. Giant true nade is just in general is just a really good card too. It's weird that like a giant true nade is at 3 and doesn't get played more. Kind of like brain control as well in Go format. Like it's such a powerful card, but because of how Go format is, it's kind of niche. But that getting limited to 1, those are all I think are fine. Um, Level Luminaria being Gravity Bind getting limited to 1, I don't really like. These are really pretty heavily used cards in burn styles. I know they're also used in stall strategies, which a lot of people don't like playing against, and a lot of people don't like playing against burn. I actually don't mind playing against burn. I mean, it's not like the funnest deck to play against. Like I like playing aggro style decks a lot more, and aggro matchups, but I don't like think that playing against burn is miserable. And I think that the alternate win condition of like burn style is important for Go format. I think that it does need to be a viable deck. And I actually, there's times where if I haven't played against burn, I do kind of have fun playing against burn just because it's a different play style and it's a different mindset that you have to have when you're playing against burn style decks. So I don't completely mind it. I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but I don't absolutely hate it like a lot of other players do, but limiting both Gravity Bind and Level Area B down to 1 is going to really hurt those decks. I think that's kind of unnecessary. I'm guessing this is more of just to make Go format more fun to play by limiting both of those stall cards down to 1, but I don't necessarily agree with it. And then semi-limited Reflect Bounder, I think was limited at 1 and got down to 2. I really don't think that matters much. It could kind of help out with burn strategy, I guess, a little bit. Maybe I don't. I think this could probably be like at 3 and like not limited at all. And then this Protector of the Sanctuary card, I don't really know a whole lot about that. I think it's got some interesting interactions with some cards, but I don't really use a lot of strategies around with this one, so I don't know how much of an effect that's going to have. And then these are at the bottom here are cards that were previously limited or banned to some point and or in some form, and then are completely you can play them at 3. So Abyss Soldier, I think that's really good to be at 3. Water's always been one of those types of deals where it's got some interesting cards and it looks like it'd be something that'd be fun to play around with and mess with, but it's just kind of sort of a little bit lacking in power and card utility in some areas. So giving it one of its best monsters at 3, I think is going to help. It's not going to make it like OP by any means because it's a very small buff. But when you're also thinking about some of the other things that are getting nerfed, like chaos and stuff, that it could help it water be a little bit more viable. This guy, I don't even remember what he does. The Dark Scorpion guy. He's got one of the effects. I don't remember what it is, but I don't ever see this card getting played. So him being at 3 is fine. Manticore Darkness at 3, I think's fine. At 2, it was fine too as well. I doubt you're gonna have 3 of them in one deck. Maybe you will. But the problem is that with Chaos Sorcerer still being at 3, it basically makes Manticore pretty much unusable. Manticore is one of those cards that if you're going to play it, you're probably going to build your entire deck around it. And then with Chaos Sorcerer, just being able to be summoned out at any time and then priority banish your Manticore, it's pretty harmful to that deck. And we're going to see later on that, Chaos really didn't get touched a lot, unfortunately. So if Chaos is getting played, then Manticore Darkness being at 3 really doesn't matter because it's probably not something you're going to play. Marauding Captain at 3, that really doesn't matter at all. This one was probably one of the most interesting cards to be taken off the ban list completely as Twin Headed Behemoth. This was previously just at 1. And so the reason why I say that is because the 3 stars is interesting with like stall burn and stuff like that. Could probably maybe see some kind of play, but probably not. Who knows? But it's more so just like the win attribute, which makes it because it's 1500 attack, makes it a good target for flying Kamakiri. So you could maybe get some interesting like wind attribute deck kind of going, similar with like what I said with water and getting a buff from having Abyss Soldier being played at 3. You could maybe see something with that. And then also, this is a good card for Monarch strategies. So this getting buffed to being played at 3 could be a big benefit to Monarchs, along with Trap Dust Shoot being banned. So you could have some maybe fun strategies with Monarchs along with this. Vampire Lord at 3, it barely even gets played at all in zombie decks, so that really doesn't matter. Emergency Provisions, this is a very niche like side deck card for usually against like Burn. I think like Goat Control would sometimes use this instead of Mystic Walk because it doesn't have a lot of big body targets, usually for Mystic Walk. And then Upstart Goblin, I don't really agree with this. I don't know why this got unlimited to 3. I think it could have stayed at semi-limited at 2. I don't. This just helps Chaos Turbo for whatever reason, for which doesn't need help. Like it's already the best deck. Why are you giving like Chaos Turbo another card to vote or to target with like Magician of Faith, basically? But that was my thought process on the ban list changes, and then we'll go and look at the deck that won the most recent tournament that just got played this weekend. We'll zoom in a little bit to see the deck list. So this is the top winning deck by Don't Copy. And if you're looking at this, you're probably thinking it looks pretty familiar because it's basically Chaos Turbo with just like 3 different monsters. So we can go through the deck here, but the one BLS got replaced by another Chaos Sorcerer, which is pretty obvious choice. Tsukiyomi got switched out with a Cyber Jar, which makes sense for this because of how many flip effect monsters there are in this deck. It's even more heavy with the flip effects. So I think it counted 9 total. You've got one Cyber Jar, 3 Dekoichi, 3 Moth, and 2 Night Assailant. So you got a total of 9 flip effect monsters. So you got plenty of good targets to have with your Cyber Jar, and then you've also got an interesting combination where they've replaced the Gravekeeper Spy dark types with a different kind of recruiter in Mystic Tomato, which can obviously self recruit, or it can also recruit something like a Cyber Jar or maybe even a Night Assailant. And then you've got your Book of Moon that you could play on those to try to get the effects off. Or you can also just get a Sangan and get a free +1. And then the rest of it's just all Chaos Turbo. You got your Dekoichis, your Moths, Night Assailants, Sangan, Sinister Serpent, 3 Thunder Dragon, and your Tribe Infecting Virus. And then the spell trap cards are almost all the same. You got 1 extra Book of Moon instead of just 1. You got 2. You got the extra Upstart Goblin to replace the Delinquent Duo is like a pseudo, basically Trinity piece that you can flip them off and target and just get a draw, and you don't care about giving your opponent's life points when you're playing this deck because you're just going for card advantage. And then you got an extra Raigeki break in here to replace the Ring of Destruction, basically. So pretty much just standard Chaos Turbo with like 3 different monsters. You replace your Gravekeeper Spies with Mystic Tomatoes, and you replaced your Tsukiyomi with the Cyber Jar, which I think Tsukiyomi got moved to the side deck. I'm going to take a quick drink here. So if I was to, have somebody tell me, hey, but you got, a different type of Go format with a different ban list. It's called Modified Go format. And we just did our first tournament, and it was a lot of fun. Do you want to try it out? And it's like, well, can I, maybe can I see the winning deck? And somebody showed me this. I would look at this and just say, nah, I'm good. I'll just play regular Go format. Like this is Chaos Turbo. And no, I mean, not to be critical, but if I'm gonna play like a different, style of Go format, I want to play something where I can play different decks. I want to play against different decks. I want to have different deck building strategies. I want to feel like I can get creative with my deck building, and I want to feel like I'm getting rewarded for being creative with my deck building because there's different cards that I can use, and different cards are banned and limited, and there's a different play style. And if I was to look at this, I was just like, this is just regular Go format with extra steps. That's what I would see this as. Oh, we can also see the side deck here. So there's some King Tigers, Kaiku, 1 Tsukiyomi, a couple of Zombiras, three Mind Controls, one MST because they took it out of the main, and three Sakus and a Salamanders. So like, I mean, they just completely took out all of their anti-burn side decking because they don't have to worry about burn at all. I guess you can say the King Tigers are kind of anti-burn because of the Ojama tokens, but like not really. I mean, that's probably more for goats, but like you just completely took out all your Mystic Walks because you don't think that burn's probably going to be much of a threat when level limit area B and gravity bind are both limited to one. So I would just see this and I would just be very disappointed if I went to an alternate ban list go format style tournament and that this is the first deck I played against and then I would watch this deck just go on and win it all. It's like why even bother? Like this is if I wanted to play against Chaos Turbo, I just load up the ladder because half the decks on the DB ladder are Chaos Turbo. So I mean that's not to be overly critical. I think some of the changes were very conservative, maybe a little bit too conservative. If the results are indicative of just Chaos Turbo still dominating. Um, there were other topping decks, and maybe there was more creativity in some of those decks. They haven't. I haven't looked. I didn't watch like the live stream or the tournament results or anything, and they haven't been posted yet. So maybe there's still hope that there's some creativity and fun to be had with this format. But I think you're going to need to see some much more drastic changes and um, kind of more aggressive forcefulness into making people play different styles. Something like I think would be really simple would just to be ban Thunder Dragon alt right because the I don't see why Chaos just needs like this free +1, and then I think you could probably limit Magician of Faith down to one or two. I don't want to ban Magician of Faith because it's just a good go format card, and it's not just specifically a Chaos deck kind of card. It can be used in a lot of other decks just because of how good the effect is. I also won't want to be I also don't want to have like Chaos just be completely neutered and unplayable. Like I don't want to ban BLS, Chaos Emperor, Dragon, and Chaos Sorcerer and just be like, ha, Chaos isn't playable at all. But I do want to make Chaos players like actually play some different cards. Like I want to see like some Shining Angels and was it the 2000 defense, the Roulette Barrel, the light monster, some DD Warrior Lady, things like that. I want to some Chaos Return, some Chaos Recruiter. I want to see different style Chaos and maybe some stuff with like X Head Cannon or Hysteric Fairy or even some of the what's it called? The Reflect Bounder that's a light type that you can play two of now with the new ban list. I want to see some of those cards being played and not just Magician of Faith and Thunder Dragon and Night Assailants and discard all that stuff with Red Geki breaks. I don't want to see this old, beaten out, worn out strategy being played in the new style of format for the modified what's it called modified goat format. Yeah, so that's just kind of my take. Hopefully some changes do get happen. If they do, then I'll probably be a lot more interested in playing and giving it a look and trying to load up a deck and maybe even take part. If more changes don't happen though, then I'm going to be far less enthusiastic about giving it a go and trying it out. So that was just my thoughts.